This one's called Forgotten Bunny. My twin daughters, Evangeline and Sophia, have changed my life. Both of them are perfect. When I wake them in the morning, they greet me with smiles that cut through me. The same smiles greet me again when I come home from a long day at work. Exhausted from this long day, I walk up the stairs and into my living room, and there they are, lit up at the sight of me, instantly making me feel like the most important person in the world. Evie flails her tiny feet as Sophie moves on to her hands and knees, rocking back and forth, urgently trying to crawl. Of course, I'm not considering any of these things when I find out that shit has exploded up one of their backs. I'm not thinking about her beautiful smile and tiny flailing feet as I literally peel my daughter Evie's shirt off of her. No, when shit encroaches beyond the confines of my child's diaper, I'm considering very different things. The existence of a god, for example. My twin daughters are now almost 7 months old, and in addition to a very healthy and productive digestive system, they have an unreasonable amount of energy. And this is no clean, recycled, sunshine-based energy. They're not crapping rainbows. This is black, carcinogen-spewing energy. They started out their life as drowsy little angels. Born 8 weeks premature, their fragility was emphasized by all the necessary tubes and wires that fenced them in. I watched them fight to see and to breathe and to eat while holding their tiny hands in mine. But now they're fit and healthy, and they have to be entertained or fed every waking hour, or I feel that they will overthrow me. It's hard for me as I get older, it's hard for me as an older and bitterer person to imagine ever having that much directionless vigor. I think as we get older, like an iPad or a phone, we develop a sort of standby mode, somewhere between on and off. Subsets of time where we can just sit on a couch and watch TV, or stretch out on a lounge chair and do sweet nothing. My kids have no standby mode. They simply kick and roll and scream and play and demand to be played with until their batteries are drained, then they poop, pass out, and recharge. This I have come to learn is the life of a parent, and especially a parent of twins. A life without a standby mode. New parents of singular children don't know how lucky they have it. When their baby cries, they can scoop that child up, whisper a soothing song in its ear, and rock them back into placidity, and perhaps even have a hand free to pat themselves on the back for a job well done. When one of my girls cries, I scoop them up and promptly endure the jealous wails of the second, who demands fair and equal affection. When a single-child parent goes to the store, they may buy a can of formula to get them through the week, perhaps 2. On average, I buy between 3 and 4, and with Similac Advanced costing $26 a pop, I have learned to enjoy a robust variety of Kroger brand baby care products. Baby formula aside, the rule of 2 applies to every aspect of my child care costs. Twice the clothes, twice the diapers, 2 car seats, 2 cribs, 2 of everything. So when an adoring baby fan, be it perfect stranger or despised family member, genially exclaims, "Twins, how perfect, 2 for the price of 1!" I repress my urge to repeatedly strike them with a blunt object, then lean over their mangled body and yell, "It's 2 for the price of 2, you are! It's just math." Everything becomes harder with twins, especially when you're alone. You cannot simply go to the store and get some milk, or walk the dog, or grab some shitty fast food without a well-conceived plan. And if you resolve to take on the task, be assured it will take twice as long as it should. This is not because of my twins, well, not always. It's because of every other person around me. When one takes a baby out in public, the event comes endemic with the probability of being stopped by a stranger who cannot help but to lean down, speak gibberish to your child, then grill you with a bunch of questions as if they're going to remember you at all by the time. When you have twins, this probability turns into a certainty. The certainty that you will have to politely answer the same questions about their names, age, weight, and whether or not they're twins during your dinner, while a complete stranger feels that it is within their rights to touch the hands, face, and stomach of your children with their index finger. On occasion, due to my own parental negligence, One of my girls might have fallen off the couch and bumped their head. These things happen. You would think that a couple of tumbles would resolve me to no longer utilize my clearly dangerous couch for nap time, but it hasn't. They sleep on that couch better than practically anywhere, and I don't blame them. It's a comfy couch. A comfy, disgusting, spit-up stained couch. And they still take naps on it every day, only now they have microfiber pillows laid beside them, barring them from the precipitous drop on the other side, which they have now begun to climb over. Only a few months ago, if a fall like this were to transpire, I might react with guilt-stricken panic, pressing my child to my chest while freaking out over red marks, berating myself for being a bad parent, and frantically determining whether or not to go to the hospital. Now, when a fall happens, I pick them up, bounce them a couple of times, give them an automated there, then plop them in front of the light-up turtle. This negligence and subsequent multiple head injuries is probably the factors for why my daughter Sophie turned into a zombie for 2 weeks. Drooling, growling, a taste for human flesh, the whole zombie thing. It started out just with the growling. My wife and I would notice it when she was putting one of her toys in her mouth, faintly at first, then creepy and loud, and most certainly a growl with no mistake. It got to be that whenever I would pick her up, she would snarl at me and then attempt to eat my face, leaving my cheek covered in baby slobber. She was, I will admit, a pretty adorable zombie, though. Naturally, I wanted to document this, so I taped it, uploaded it to YouTube, and waited for it to go viral and make me rich. It was a good thing I did, too, since she stopped doing this only 2 weeks later. But the very first time I did a search for my video, Growling Sophie, I found 2 other videos of 2 other Sophies performing the exact same stunt. And they had hardly any hits on their videos either. I suppose zombie babies aren't as rare an occurrence as I thought. Fingers crossed that she starts juggling. Recently, I've noticed that I'm getting impatient for progress with my children. My wife and I were convinced that they were beginning to tease 2 months ago. As of today, still no teeth. I've been waiting patiently for my babies to notice each other and then with all luck entertain each other because I can only make them fly like Superman so many times before it loses its charm for them and for me. Just recently, in fact, my girls have started noticing each other, which would be great if these encounters didn't always seem to end in violence. It starts out so delightful and cute, with one of them cooing at the other and putting their arms around each other's back, posing for a perfect Facebook-worthy photo op. But by the time I get back with Emily so she can witness her 2 babies playing together in harmony and snap a candid picture or 2, Evie is screaming, tears streaming down her face as Sophie death grips a clump of what little hair she has in her fist, grinning from ear to ear like it's the funniest damn thing in the world. As I pry Sophie's hand off her, in my head the situation actually amuses me. Normally, a single isolated moment of the 2 of them staring at each other and smiling would prompt an aunt or uncle to exclaim, "Aw, look how much they love each other." I often wish I could bring that family member in the room at the very moment of Sophie's attack and then ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do they love each other now? I'd say about a 2, 2.5. The simple truth is they're babies, and they have formed attachments, but love might be going a bit far at this point. Evie's not going to protect her sister from a bully or buy her a thoughtful birthday card. And at this point to Sophie, Evie is nothing more than a terrifically complex toy to yank and chew. Today, during a master's class, I read a picture book called Nuffle Bunny that struck me as surprisingly and profoundly moving. My children must be making me soft. Anyway, long story short, this dad and his little girl named Trixie, who immediately reminded me both in likeness and mannerism of my own children, take a trip to the laundromat. After they're done, they go back home only to find out that Trixie has left her stuffed bunny behind. The dad, guilt-stricken that he didn't understand his daughter's obvious nonverbal attempts to show him that something was wrong, without hesitation, rushes back to the laundromat, searches desperately, and eventually finds Trixie's stuffed bunny. And when Trixie gets her bunny back in her arms, she speaks her first word, Nuffle Bunny. Immediately, I was impressed because the little girl's first word was actually 2 words, 4 syllables with a silent K at the beginning. I presume a child capable of that will likely go on to cure a plague or fight supervillains. But the absurd complexity of Trixie's first words aside, I was overwhelmed by how they came into being, brought to life by a forgotten bunny and her father's desperate attempt to retrieve it. As I read that last line, I smiled, hoping that my daughter's first words may be conceived by a noble fatherly act. And if those first words happen to be so ridiculously complex as to only be worthy of Stephen Hawking or Rain Man, that would be fine too.